In this lecture, we're going to discuss the user interface design principle for a website. And here's some useful reference. The first one that I like the most is Don Norman's books on the psychology of everyday things. And you can find out some additional information from his website. Jacob Nielsen, which is listed here as a second reference, worked with Don Norman, and he wrote a book called Designing Web Usability. He took a more simplistic approach in terms of trying to keep the website as simple as possible. And the third reference, the title is called Don't Make Me Think, which means you want to design your website with a more intuitive approach. And it's an interesting book to read. The fourth reference, called Web Style Guide, it's put out by Yale University's medical school's media team. And it took a very methodological approach in terms of providing guidelines and principles in terms of how you should design your website. And most of the content is available online, so you can actually visit this site. It's a great resource made available to us. And also regarding accessibility, there's a number of resources available, and it's all listed here. This is actually for people who are most likely visually impaired, and then how you should design your website to make it accessible to them. One of the basic design challenge is to balance between forms and function. Christopher Alexander, who is the author of Notes on the Synthesis of Form, who has an architecture background, once said that the process of inventing things which display new physical order, organization, form, and in response to function. So basically you need to understand the functions or functionality of your website, and then figure out how you should arrange various elements that you want to provide it to your website, and how to get it organized and put it in the right format and form. So that's the issue we have to deal with in website design. And if you look at this diagram here, and can you figure out what that is? Actually, this is the presidential election ballot in Florida, Palm Beach County, and then how you punch the hole in order to select a certain candidate can be very confusing. Vaguely you can probably find out there's Al Gore listed here, and that's Bush. So this actually created a lot of vote counting and protest issue. And the reason I'm showing this image here is just try to make a point that the interface design is everything. Like Don Norman's book, it's in everyday things, in this case in election ballot. So this is the cover of the Design of Everyday Thing, which is a very popular book. It's light reading, but very interesting, has been translated into many languages. And it follows a so-called user-centered design principle. You actually need to understand the world in which the system would be used and its target user. But in the designer's mind, you need to simplify the structure of the task that the user have to accomplish. You try to make things visible, and you also try to get the mappings right. I'm going to give you some example later. And also, sometimes you want to explore the power of constraint, which means that you may want to prevent users to do certain things, or once they have done something, you want to limit them in terms of what else they can do. And those constraints can be natural, can be created artificially. And you also want to design for error, in this case for preventing the possible error that the user may make. And last but not least, it is very important that you try to standardize on your user interface design such that it's easier for the user to use your system to get around, because there's a consistency in terms of your user interface design. And when there's an industry-wide standard, and you may want to follow it, and when there's no such standard, you may want to create your own standard, or to customize the standard based on the industry-wide standard. Here's example. Can you tell what this picture is? Okay. It's on the stairway, and someone put a gate here. Do you know, or can you guess which floor this most likely will be in a high-rise building? Think about it. Okay. And by the way, this is from Don Norman's book called The Design of Everyday Thing. This is most likely the first floor, where in the case of fire, people are rushing down. They want to prevent people to go down to the basement and got stuck there. And it's kind of a visual cue to tell them that this is the way out. Okay. And certainly I would actually hand a sign here to tell them, in case of fire, please go out this way. However, in case of fire, the light probably will be out, so the sign may not be able, in the dark, people may not be able to read it. Okay, this is a design of a range, an oven, and on the left-hand side, this is one design with 4 switches lined up this way, and on the right-hand side, we have the switch lined up this way. Which one do you think is a better design? Or which one do you think is easier for people to understand which switch is for what stove or oven here? Yeah, you guessed right. This is probably a better design. Certainly it may take kind of extra space, but this kind of map nicely from here to here, from here to here. Okay, so it certainly makes more sense in this case. Let's look at the next example. Can you tell what kind of facility this picture was taken from? We see Heineken. Okay, it's a beer can, actually, imported Heineken, and there's 2 handles here, some button, maybe some lights. Okay. Think about it. Okay. Think about why the user of the system put the 2 beer cans on top of the 2 handles, which initially may look identical. This was taken in a nuclear power plant. Okay. One may be indicating acceleration of nuclear reaction. The other maybe trying to slow down. Maybe, I don't know much about beer, but maybe one is dark beer, which means accelerate, one is light beer, it means slow down. However, it probably makes sense to the operator, and to prevent them in case of emergency to make a mistake in terms of push the wrong switch. Okay. For acceleration, I actually would suggest that since it's a more dangerous move, so maybe the switch supposed to be placed in further place down here, and maybe they need to push a button, holding a button while push the switch. So just in case they bump into the switch, it's not going to be accelerated. It's like on your computer, you may need to hit the Control Alt Delete button all three at a time in order to shut down your computer, and it still asks you to confirm whether you want to shut down your computer. So this is actually trying to prevent some human error. This is a screen snapshot of a character-based user interface. We call it CUI instead of graphical user interface, which means graphical, which is for Windows kind of environment. And so on this screen, you may actually the context is that this is actually a telephone directory search service. Someone may call a telephone company and try to find out who may be the subscriber of a particular telephone number. So the caller may give the operator a telephone number, and the operator would try to find out the subscriber, and if with the permission of the subscriber, then the information will be displayed here, and then the operator can tell the caller the address and the name of the subscriber. So you may want to pause the video for the moment, look at the screen, and try to see whether you can find out anything that is wrong or inconvenient or missing from this screen, from here to here. Okay. Once again, this is a screen came back after the operator has entered telephone number and found the subscriber of a particular telephone number. Okay, pause the screen. I'll give you a little bit of time to think about it. Thank you for coming back. Let me go over and see whether you have caught most of the mistake. First, there's a typo, which is supposed to be subscriber. It's supposed to be B instead of P. Second, can you figure out anything wrong here? Okay, John's Brown. I mean, is John's first name or the last name of this particular subscriber? So you probably need to say that's the first name if Jones is the first name, and then use, we call this label or prompt, okay, or caption, indicating the information you're displaying. Third, what happened to this empty line? Internally, we may reserve two fields for street address. However, since this is a short address and we don't really use this, and when you try to display it, potentially you can just display this 3 line, and ignore that empty line, and you don't need to expose the internal structure that you have to the end user. Okay, and there's some information regarding who's the user, the operator's username using the system, which may not be necessary, and also the some technical information that listed here also may be irrelevant as well. Okay. And certainly we can argue that is that like August the 10th or the October the 8th. It depends on whether you're in Europe or in the United States. This actually can mean different things. Officially, the international standard, this actually means year, month, and the day. Okay, this is actually, the PF key is the programmable functional key that's usually used with the mainframe system. And we have the help. PF1 is help, that's very typical. F1, like on our computer, is usually means help as well. So they're following the convention. And this is actually going back to directory information, other services, and the video, text, and whatever they mean. What may be missing, if you're really thinking about the workflow or task flow, what do you think will be the most likely next action by the user, by the operator of the system? Yes, you may be right. The most likely action is actually try to enter another telephone number because another person called and then try to search another subscriber. So, but here there's no PF key or mechanism for us to go to the search screen, the previous screen, and there's no easy way out. Okay, there's no exit function. There's no search next function key. Okay, that's one major mistake in my opinion. Okay. So let's look at some of the general classification of the problem that in user interface design. We want to use simple and natural dialogue. We want to use the user's language. Don't use technical term. You try to minimize the user's memory load. Don't expect the user would remember things that they have told you. For instance, in the previous screen, nowhere you find the telephone number that the operator has entered previously. And so if at this moment the operator cannot actually confirm with the subscriber, with the caller regarding, well, what was the telephone that you're telling me, or is this the telephone number, and if that is, then this is a subscriber. So you want to provide a consistent look and feel, such as we always use function key 1 for help. We want to provide some feedback in terms of what happened and what's wrong. And in the previous design, we certainly don't have a clearly marked exit on the screen. And the PF key is a shortcut that allows user to do certain frequently perform function more quickly. And the error message, if any, should be easy to understand and try to prevent the user to make errors, like the nuclear power plant case that we mentioned before. This is kind of an improved user interface design, and now we have the telephone number listed. Okay, we list the name, and here Jim is probably the first name, and then middle name, last name. And we got rid of the empty second street address and list the city, state, etc. in one line. And we list all the PF key and explain what it is. for instance, escape key is to leave the whole system, use the return key to enter another new telephone number and search another telephone number subscriber, and because that's the most likely next move. And there are some other PF key to use other services. This is another version of the improved user interface design in the window environment. So we have this window look and feel. The text box is here for the operator to enter the telephone number for the search purpose. And once they enter this, then the operator can actually hit search a new telephone number, or we could certainly do this. In this case, we may want to add actually a simple button here, just called search, next to the search box, so it is easier for the operator to go ahead and search this telephone number. And once it's found, then the information will be listed. The subscriber information found will be listed here with proper labeling in front of the actual data. By clicking this button, then we're going to clean up this telephone number, allow the user to enter another new telephone number. There are other buttons which is like a shortcut key for the user to perform other tasks. They are mapping to the function key like online help, and the exit button is clearly marked here. Let's look at a typical website development life cycle. The first you want to do it is to identify what's the goal of your website, and you need to work with your potential client to define the goals for the website. And certainly a website can have multiple goals, and you also need to identify the target users and what platform the user may use, and what are the technical knowledge and background of the user, and what are the so-called domain knowledge the user may have. This would determine how easy you want to make the site to use, or what kind of the technical term that you may use in describing your site. You want to define and determine the task requirement, what tasks the user have to go through to, for instance, purchase a product from your website and check it out by paying by credit card. And you want to design the website and determine what are the major themes for the site, and define the navigation map, which we'll describe in detail later. Eventually you would implement the site using various web development tools, evaluate the website, and based on your evaluation and feedback from the user, you want to modify and improve your website continuously, and sometimes go back to the beginning to revise the goal or even the target users for the website. A large web development project have different people involved who play different role and share various responsibility. One is your customer. Customers certainly provide funding, define the requirement, or for you to a certain extent, and there's certain constraint that your client may have. Designer would look at the overall theme and the tone of the website and define the look and feel and the color system, etc. The interactive media developer is like the programmer who would build web pages, including some kind of dynamic functionality of the site. The user interface designer will focus on the ease of use of the system, including the navigation, the page layout or site layout, and make it easy to use, which is the usability issue. There's also a project manager who will provide the leadership and coordinate the project with various stakeholders and assign tasks to various individuals who play different roles and manage the schedule and the budget. The business manager in this case will be responsible for managing the relationship with the client. And so the project manager is more or less working internally by working with the designer, programmer, user interface designer, etc. Jacob Nielsen, which is the author of this book in our reference list, the second book, argue that the website design is often neglected by a lot of people involved in web design. They focus on page design instead of the site design. The reason is the site itself is really never explicitly represented on the screen. You're seeing one page at a time, but together the collection of pages constitute the website. And so before you start creating individual web pages, you really need to focus on the overall site design, and he argued that it is usually more important than page design. So keep this in mind. So web development has multiple layers. First, you need to manage the whole web development effort, focusing on the usability and the functionality, and you want to provide some interactive design feature, including navigation support, define the web page layout, or create some template for standardized page layout. Offer search function when you have a lot of product service for the user to find, and then thinking about the content that you may want to offer in your website. Site can have various elements. We call it site element, like your homepage. Homepage may have various navigation support and provide some necessary graphic and text. Have menu for navigation to navigate to various sub-sites. And sometimes you want to provide a table content or sitemap for the user to find the necessary pages. And certainly we should have page for product and services, page specifically for what's new from your website, search features or function, which can be on a particular search page or listed on multiple pages, contact information to tell people your address, phone number, email, etc., and or even map to your location if they want to pay you a physical visit, and have some feedback and virtual community pages to interact with the users. Frequent asked question, particularly if you have some technical product that the user may have some question for you. And you may want to customize your server arrow page so they make more sense to the user. Content is the king, so it is important that you have content, good content on your website. The content can be created by yourself, it can be borrowed from other sites with permission. You can also purchase content from third-party content providers. And certainly creating interesting content takes time, money, and creativity. However, find out what the visitor like to see, and then even ask them to create some content for you. Content can be classified into informational content, interactive content, multimedia content, or software content. Let's look at different kinds of content in the following. Informational content could be product information, photo, graphics, frequently asked question, news section, product review, a guest column or post, and or even individual blog site linking to your website, newsletter. The database usually will store a lot of structured data, and then you need to write dynamic web pages to interact with the database to retrieve data in real time. Some customer review or testimony can be posted, and certainly it is very useful to have the customer generate article or review for you, and that's free, so, and it's probably more convincing, so why not? Interactive contents allow the user to interact with you, like you offer some contests or some polling, and offer chat room or message board for the user to engage in discussion, with discussion forum for user to offer product review, and that's one way you can interact with the user. The social media marketing pay a lot of attention to offer such interactive or interaction with the user. If it's appropriate, certainly you want to have some multimedia content on your site, like YouTube video or iPod kind of audio recording. And if it's appropriate, then certainly you want to have some kind of a software content, a demo software if you're selling software, and some shareware that may be made available to the user. Let's look at the website design and the principle behind it. The website design, the main focus is on the structure of the site. We usually use a hierarchical diagram, a tree kind of structure to indicate the organizational web pages. On the top, that's the home page, and then which will link to some major sub-menu, sub-area, and then each sub-area will link to some sub-area or content pages. So this is how we structure various pages of a website. At the top of it, it's the home page. That's the launching place for the user who want to visit your site. The structure of the website, if it looks like this, that's kind of too shallow. If it looks like this, then it's too deep, which means that you have a page which breaks down to just two other pages and to another two pages. That's that make your tree structure too deep, so people would actually have to navigate many pages to find the content page. So the best approach, a balanced menu structure, is to actually have probably not too few but not too many sub-pages under a parent page. So the child page could be 3, 4, 5, or even 6, 7, but not too many, but not too small. When you break down to 2, it's okay, but preferable maybe 3 to 6 pages and linking to each other. That's what we call a balanced kind of a menu structure or tree structure in terms of the website design. And this is another drawing of the website architecture design. Sometimes we refer to this as information architecture of a website. And remember, you can always link back and forth across this tree structure, so you're not really limited to this hierarchical navigation structures. You can link cross pages or even cross different branches, and then link always back to the home page on the top. In front page, which is one of the software that I use, you can actually draw the navigation diagram, and then once you have created, front page will create a site and provide the navigation to you. So it's very convenient. You can actually change the navigation structure, and then the navigation bar or navigation menu will be changed automatically for you. So it's a very nice feature in front page. And the last version of front page is front page 2003. So Microsoft has unfortunately discontinued this product. It's fairly easy to use. So navigation is very important, which usually reflect to a certain extent your website structure, the tree structure. So people can navigate to next previous page or first page and last page. When you have pages that's kind of list in the sequential order, then you may want to have this type of navigation structure. And at the bottom of the page, we recommend you to have certainly once again the navigation bar listed. Amazon has something like this as an example. This is a snapshot of an Amazon's navigation bar in the past. They do have kind of different navigation approach, but for different items you're purchasing, they put a tab here. Each tab has some sub area that you can click on, and they use color coding to indicate different areas for you. Eventually they run out of the tab, and therefore they make some changes to their navigation design. And when you get involved in designing the website, to speed up the process, you should separate the content from the interface. For instance, this is the path for providing the content, but this is the path to design the user interface. For instance, define the navigation structure, have some graphical sketches of the sound of the graph needed for the site, and define the interface component like navigation diagram, menu, etc. Review your design, create a prototype which can be low fidelity, and then test your prototype and then refine the graphic and multimedia object to make it high fidelity prototype, and then eventually complete it. The content can be written up along the way and eventually plug into the web pages and the website in the right place, and eventually you have the high fidelity prototype to be tested by the targeted users. This is example of page layout design, and you can see the logo is here, and then there's some menu, and you use multiple column format, maybe 3-column format, and there's a tab control for people to navigate to different area, and there's some additional button people can choose from. This may be a search function for the user to search in your product listing, and then there's A to Z index for the user to search maybe the map, your site map. Okay. So this is an example of a carefully designed page layout, which you may want to use it for most of your page on your website, so they have a consistent look and feel in across all the pages in your website. And here, this little thing, you may not be able to see it clearly. There's a breadcrumb trail. In this case, it shows that you started from home page and then go to another area, eventually come to this current page. So when they show you the page that you have visited leading to this page, that technically is called breadcrumb or breadcrumb trail. It's a very interesting feature to offer to the user, so they know where they are, where they may have came from, and they can click on those links to go back to the parent page or the home page. So remember this term called breadcrumb. It's a useful web design feature to have. And when you design the website, sometimes we tend to get lots of information into a web page and cramp everything into the page. But to the user, for instance, someone wants to buy an airline ticket, when they look at the site, they don't really read everything in detail. They basically will see something that kind of pop out to their eye, something stand out, which almost like highlighted and get their attention, and other things are kind of faded at the background. And so you want to make sure that the important information will stand out to a typical user. Okay. And for instance, but for different user, a frequent flyer program user, and they're looking for just tracking their mileages. So you want to make sure that you have places that you allow them to track their mileages. In this case, you may want to provide several entry points for them to track their mileages instead of just have one link. Sometimes you may have a little duplicated link spread around different places to get their attention. Okay. And as a designer, you kind of expect people to kind of read things in certain order, but in reality, this is what the user are reading. They kind of jump around a little bit from your logo, from left to right and up and down. So you want to make sure you kind of understand their scanning pattern, because they're looking around and try to find anything that's interesting or resemble what they're looking for, and something that may be clickable. And if they find something, they click on it. Otherwise, they basically will go back to the previous page or even abandon your website. So you need to be very careful in terms of your layout design. It needs to be logical. You need to highlight the important area that you think the user most likely is going to use. This is an example of a search function offered by Zip Realty on its website. You can search by zip code and certainly to narrow down the area that you want to purchase a house. And then you can specify some information about the house. The home price range certainly would be one way to do it. There's even a function that allows you to switch the monthly payment regarding the mortgage, etc. That translate into the price range. Number of bathroom are also important criteria to some people. The minimum square footage, lot size, and year build, or the range of the year build, will be also a potential criteria. If you did not put it down and you say any, that means that you don't really care. Public type sometimes is also a very important attribute in search, in searching for a house, like single family, condo, townhouse, etc. and there are some additional criteria that you potentially can use. And once you click the search now, the system would basically show you the property that has been found meeting the criteria you have specified here. So here we're list some of the most important basic information about a house, like number of bedroom, bathroom, square footage, the lot size, and the year bill, and also the listing date, when this property has been listed on the market. And some part of the description, just briefly, you can see more of this particular property by click on more or click on the images to look at the detailed information. The asking price is listed here, and here's the monthly estimated payment, and this little arrow just means the price has been marked down recently. Then, as you can look at the pricing history by looking at the detailed information of the house. And the popularity just means a lot of other users have looked at the detailed information. This would tell you a little bit of the interest on this particular house and the competition out there potentially. And this result can be sorted by different criteria, such as price. You can sort it from high to low or low to high. You click it once, it's from low to high, and you click again, it's from high to low. Sorted by square footage, lot size, and listing date is an interesting sorting attribute, because a lot of time, if you're really in the housing market, you come to this website frequently. So every time you come in, you probably want to see the latest listing. So show the result by the listing day with the newest listing day make a lot of sense to some users. This is another search function by a website called gifts.com, and once again, price range, what category that you're looking for, what's the occasion, what's the relationship of the gift buyer and the gift receiver, and you can kind of specify the price over here. Okay. One interesting thing is here, you see the relationship between son and daughter, and they specifically indicate that's for adult son and daughter. Okay. And there's no son and daughter who are not adult, like teenager or preteen or even kids in grade school. Why that's the case? Have you thought about it? Okay. One potential explanation that I may have is that if you have kids, I mean, you probably know this, they tell you upfront what Christmas gift they want to have. I mean, so you don't have to second guess. So therefore, the search function is really not necessary in terms of specifying the relationship here. You probably just want to use the keyword to search for the product here. And on your website, sometimes we do want to collect information from the customer. You have to be very careful what you ask for, and because if you try to ask the user to enter a lot of information, they probably are not going to enter those information and abandon your website. Or even they enter those information, they probably will not enter the most accurate information. So in conclusion, you only try to collect the data that's necessary for you to offer the service to your customer to benefit them. And sometimes just collecting the email address and the zip code will be sufficient. And ask them for permission for you to send marketing information to the email account that you have collected. We usually call this permissible marketing. Once you have your website designed and developed, you want to evaluate your site. Here are some simple user interface evaluation criteria. The site needs to look trustworthy. People need to feel comfortable with it. Don't make it too crowded, too messy. And try to have the layout such that it's something they're familiar with clarity, and the system has good performance, and so it's reliable. And you need to, if necessary, make it more colorful, more flashy, and so it's more appealing, but don't overdo it. It's really a balance between functions and forms, and you do want to offer a lot of functionality, but you also want to make sure you provide appropriate form, make it easy for people to get access to different functions that you're offering. On the usability aspect of it, we have some simple principle. You want it to be very intuitive. Remember, on the web, you don't have the chance to train your user. So they have to learn how to use your website the first time they come to visit you. And you also want to make the task flow to be as natural as possible. And you want to follow the user, the expectation, predict their expectation, and then anticipate what they want to do next, and then make it easy for them. And at the end, you satisfy the user in terms of the goal they try to achieve. Last but not the least, here I listed some criteria or questions you can ask yourself when you try to evaluate your website. Like, is the purpose of the site very clear? Who are the audience? And is the site useful or relevant to the target audience? And the site very interesting and engaging, or does the site enable the user to accomplish all the tasks they need to perform? And can they do it easily? And is the information organized in a way that the user can understand? And is the important information very easy to find? And so those are the questions that you need to ask. And another question is that, do you always know where you are? Do you always let the visitor know where they are and how they can get to where they want to go? Okay. Remember, the breadcrumb is a feature that will let the user know where they are, and also guide them to go back if it's needed to the home page, to the parent page, etc. Okay. And certainly you want your page to be able to load it quickly. So if not necessary, don't use large images or video unnecessarily to make it very difficult or slow to load your page. So this concludes our lecture on web user interface design, and hopefully you will apply some of the principle here and apply it to your own web user interface design in your e-commerce group projects website design. Thank you.